Welcome back to another episode of The Trenches. This is crypto's #1 live stream where we ask the most important questions in the ecosystem. Today, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about InfoFi. It is perhaps the most important time to be having this conversation, given Kaito's continued success and continued price appreciation of their token. A lot of people are wondering what's going on here. What's the thesis? We also had this experiment of Laudio last week, which was perhaps a rampant 24 hours on Twitter and then is basically fizzled away. Let's understand what went wrong versus other platforms like Kaito, what they got right. We're also going to talk about Ethereum BTC. Simon is also at Ethereum, at least bullish, if not a strong bull. And so we're going to have that conversation because, again, you want to understand different points of view and really dig into the details on why certain assets are behaving certain ways and where we think the future of crypto is heading. So with that, we have two amazing guests that are going to be joining us today. We have Simon. He is the managing partner of MOONROCK Capital. I'll let you him tell a little bit more about it in his own words. But incredible venture firm that we've co-invested in a number of deals. And he's also one of the top yappers out there. So if anyone understands the social engagement space, I don't think anyone other than Simon has tweeted more about it. We also have Momo from Opinions.fun. And I have very strong views on opinion markets and think they actually could be a bigger market than prediction markets. But we're going to talk about that. And as usual, we're going to do a demo in every single one of our live stream. Because again, if we're not doing demos, we're not uplifting if we don't do a demo every stream, we're not uplifting the great stuff that the developers and doers of Solana and crypto more broadly are working on. So we're going to be doing that. So to jump in, though, what we're going to do a little fun experiment. So what we're going to start with is we're going to create a market on Opinions.fun. And then what we'll do is towards the end of the episode, when we actually do the demo, we'll visit that market and see what people think. So Momo, assuming it's still all good on your end, perhaps I'll turn it over to you, and you can share your screen and create a market or show what market has been created.
Let's do a quick, like for everyone who's not familiar, right? So just a super quick intro from my side. Opinions.fun is the first marketplace on Solana, so everyone can basically profit from their opinions. You can have a stake in others' opinions as well, or create your own. And I'm gonna share my screen with you right now. I hope everything can be seen because right now I think I don't see the stream, but I can see my.
I see your screen.
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. So basically, our whole motto is like put your money where your mouth is, right? I think it fits perfectly into InfoFi, where it really is more about, well, in a time of so much noise, where's all the signal? Whose opinions should you follow? Whose opinions are worth it to listen to? And we basically say and introduce a completely new set of assets, which we call opinion tokens or opinion coins, which basically are tokenized beliefs, right? So if you have a certain opinion about a certain topic, for example, that pump funds token will mark the exact top of the cycle, right? You could go into the market and buy or sold either the agree or the disagree side. So basically you take part in the discussion by having a stake in it as well. Why should you do that? Well, because you just simply show that you're serious about your take. And if you're super good at spotting early narratives, or you think that a lot of people will agree, right? I mean, right now it's 50-50. If you think a lot of people will agree with that take, you can profit from being early and from being on the correct side, basically. So if this discussion takes off, if someone like, I think Crypto Math was the guy who created it, he's also a yapper apparently. If a lot of people think that opinion does make sense, you can take part in that discussion in a super financialized way, right? We can do that, or as Carl said, we can launch our own opinion. So what's the topic of today?
Something InfoFi.
With InfoFi, any things that you'd like to have to say already, or should I just go with InfoFi is actually pretty cool, or InfoFi is actually
InfoFi super cycle is real.
Yeah, that's a good one. InfoFi super cycle just got started. Let's say InfoFi Any description you want to add, Simon?
No, I'm fine.
I think we're still early.
I think we're still early.
Let me check if I have an image. I think I actually have one. That's a nice one, huh?
Oh, it's a beautiful image. Look at that.
Perfect. So that's basically it. And once we create the opinion, a market gets created with liquid tokens. So you can now buy agree or disagree tokens. Once I create it, I'll just like buy a super small amount to initialize the market. But anyone watching, or even you guys, it's possible to trade them right now. It starts on bonding curves. We had a couple of opinions that already migrated. So basically tradable on all the trading apps afterwards. Let's see. Yeah, I think.
Do you need to do a little bit more?
No, I think it's actually the Solana
Oh,
in the wallet.
yeah.
But now it should work.
There we go. Your opinion is live.
There we go. Everyone should be able to see the opinion. Everyone should be able to actually buy into the opinion themselves. I once did a fun experiment while the SIMD 228 proposal was live on Solana. So people were able to, and I argued that it's just a better polling system than the traditional ways of polling, where people should be serious with what they say because they have a stake in it. That's what we did last time. So super excited to see how this will go today. And
here we go. Should I go to the InfoFi? We can't share hyperlinks in the chat only because they moderate it because of potential scams. But because otherwise people just post links and bring people to various places. If people want to go Opinions.fun and then search for info, and then market should immediately come up, right?
I'm also going to share it on my socials, super simple way. And then we should be ready to go.
Perfect. All right. So go ahead and follow Opinions.fun on X if you haven't already, and go participate in that market. We'll take a look towards the end of the show, and we'll see where it nets out. I know I have my opinion. It's but we'll see what everyone else thinks. All right. Well, so that's super helpful. And again, we're going to explore Opinions.fun at the end of the show in more detail. But that was a great way just to show everyone and create this market. Though it's a real-time information discovery that is taking place on chain on Solana. All right. Well, so that was a great intro from Momo. Let's start with Simon. And what I want to do here is I don't want to immediately go into, I think it's a good context for introducing Simon. Let me perhaps start with this.
No, fuck.
Yeah. So both Simon and Momo actually are German, and
I know that city,
and very, very, very good friends. And so, look, you have been living in Munich at least a good part of your life. So tell us a little bit more about yourself briefly, but then also give us the Alpha and Oktoberfest. Should people go? Which tent should they go to? Any sort of inside baseball from those that are German and living in and around Munich that you can share with everyone.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Simon from MOONROCK, right? I think I started just like as anyone else in 2017 as kind of like a crypto degen, where I just like got sucked into the space by like the ICO craze and like immediately got addicted. In 2019, decided with my partners to kind of like professionalize things, and we founded MOONROCK Capital, right? So we are a prop fund. We are investing our own capital. We don't have any external LPs into like early stage companies, like mostly pre-seed and seed. For example, we're also investors in Opinions.fun. And we're just trying to be like as hands-on as possible. And we kind of like see ourselves as like an extended team to the founders, where we just like try to share our expertise to accelerate the growth, but also like leverage our network for the fundraisers, but also like listings or whatever, right? I think Momo can confirm that we have been working with them like quite a lot on like ideation and also like executing the platform, bringing it to market and everything. And yeah, Munich is a great city to live in. It's definitely high quality. You wouldn't want to come here though. The taxes are horrible. But yeah, if you want to learn more about Oktoberfest, then you should scroll through the Empire podcast, because last year we invited Santiago Santos to our kind of like crypto Oktoberfest, and it was like an amazing experience. I think like people coming from outside are always like absolutely enthusiastic about it. It's like a once in a lifetime experience kind of. And it's super fun. I mean, as like a Munich native guy, kind of like it's nothing special to us anymore. Like we are going every year, like several times, right? But for people coming from the outside and never have experienced it, I definitely recommend it. And if you're here, let me know. So we're happy to show you around.
Perfect. And so so it's what, 15 days? Doesn't it take place something like that? 17 days?
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks and a weekend usually. So it's like 17 days, something like this.
What is the year where you've been the most times in any given Oktoberfest? So, for example, 10 days out of the 17.
Yeah. Must have been like, I don't know, like 10 years ago or something, when I was like younger and like still super wild. So I guess like, I don't know, I think like the most was like 7 days or something, like
Yeah,
within
so
that
basically
particular time period.
every other day, basically, you're going in there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know some people and friends who actually like take holidays and stuff for that, like from work, right? To just like go there every day, and they can also be hungover and stuff like. And then also like the one picture that you just saw, like with lederhosen and everything, right? Like the whole city is dressed like this. It's crazy.
Yeah. Momo, anything to add on Oktoberfest? Any other alpha or things to share?
I actually, because I saw your question, Oktoberfest question in the chat, so I want to ask Simon, like, how many masses of beer was like your maximum amount? And
My
you guys,
record.
you guys listening, you need to know 1 mass of beer is like 1 liter in 1 glass, which is a lot actually. And the Oktoberfest beer is super strong.
Yeah, it's much stronger than regular beer. Yeah. To be honest, like I'm also like a bit of a pussy. So I think like my record was like 5 mass or something, right? Which is 5 liters.
Yeah,
And I know people who are drinking like 9 liters or something, then take the car to go home. It's like they're absolutely crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is that is wild. All right. Well, that's awesome. I actually might be coming to Oktoberfest this year. And so if I do, I'll let you know. I was actually, sometimes I wear outfits as part of this. I was thinking about putting on my lederhosen, but I decided against it this time. All right. Well, let's jump in. I think before we get to InfoFi, I think there's something that's even more interesting and pressing right now in the market, and that's the state of Ethereum. Everyone wants to know, should we buy ETH? Should we not buy ETH? What's the long-term bullish sentiment for? And Simon happens to be a very large, if I can share this window again, pull this up. So Simon, you should be able to see this window. Simon happens to be very large Ethereum bull. I think those of you on the live stream, you should be able to see this, but this is the Ethereum Bitcoin price chart over the past year. And as you can see, it's basically been down only with a little recent bump. I'm assuming that was around when they announced protocol and some other things, but Ethereum has struggled relative to Bitcoin and relative to Solana, relative to other assets. But you, I think, have a pretty strong take on where Ethereum is going. You actually had a nice post here, the Ethereum bull case. So maybe you can just give us a little info on Ethereum bull case. So and also talk about like what is protocol. There's these kind of 3 levers of it. Scale the L1, scale the L2, improve UX. So maybe kind of bring us home. Why should people be excited about Ethereum? Why should people be excited to build on Ethereum? And what's the role of Ethereum asset and blockchain going forward?
Of course. Actually, I don't want to dive like too deep into that, right? Because I think there are like many people who are like way more technical, way more into that stuff than I am. And I think it's also like a very heated and much discussed debate, right? So I think like most of the stuff has already been said. I also want to clarify, I'm not like an ETH maxi or something. I mean, I'm equally bullish on like Ethereum as I am on Solana, right? I just think it's funny like how I tend to kind of like take this position to be like an ETH bull just because everyone is like bearish on it, right? But I'm like equally bullish on both, and we also hold like equally equally big positions on both of these assets. And I just think like Ethereum is like way overfunded, right? So I mean, obviously, like Solana also had its time, like when FTX went down, right? And they went to like $8 or something. And everyone was like, yeah, Solana is dead. And I mean, I know we were buying at like $12, $13 or something like this. But like many people I told to buy were like, no, okay, this is dead. I don't touch this. And then like the whole Solana craze and like the whole like, belief in Solana basically came from its price performance, right? Which kind of like attracted more builders, kind of like attracted more innovation, which was just like this flywheel effect, and then caused like this meme coin craze. And obviously Ethereum also suffered from that, because all the attention, speaking about InfoFi, all the attention like went to Solana, right? And I think this is also something that Ethereum automatically suffered from, because also people were questioning like, why is like the Ethereum Foundation so slow? Why are they having like such shitty BD and stuff like this? So I think lots of this stuff was obviously like justified, right? And I think also Ethereum did like a lot of stuff wrong. But I think it's overfunded. And I think by now, like saying that ETH is kind of like a shitty asset or something is like a very mid-curve take. I mean, same as like Bitcoin. I think like all these big projects and like big assets like have their time where they like go through like a particular period where they need to kind of like find themselves, right? Just like restructure things like before they can enter like the next level. I think we saw the same with Bitcoin. Like in, I don't know, 2018, 2019, when people were like flooding Bitcoin that this is like shit and this will never be kind of like digital gold and stuff like this. And when people still were thinking this is kind of like supposed to be like a currency or something, right? So I see ETH in like a pretty similar light. And what I'm super excited about, I mean, it would be pretty kind of like narrow-minded to say that ETH is not like the most proven, the biggest smart contract platform that is at the same time like the most decentralized one, right? And the most kind of like stress tested in the industry. And what I'm looking for a lot is like kind of like institutional money, right? I mean, obviously retail is great, and we are all hanging out in our like crypto echo chamber on Twitter or something. But like the big money is like the institutions, and we are at like a particular point in the industry where we're at crazy valuations, and it's not like my mom's money that will move the needle here, but it's like the BlackRocks and like the Fidelities and stuff, right? So what I really like about ETH is that I think it will be definitely the platform that like the institutions will come to, right? I mean, obviously Solana will also get like a piece of the pie and everything, but I mean, we have like the institutional ETF that will like cause like a lot of inflows. This will also come for Solana at some point, but I mean, as I said, I'm equally bullish on both. But also like, I think Ethereum is one of the very few assets out there that has like the chance to be like several things at the same time, right? Bitcoin is like digital gold, right? It's like it's their market. Like Solana by now is like much more discussed as kind of like a tech platform, right? And people are always talking about REV, right? Real economic value and stuff. Like they are kind of like treating that like a startup that is generating fees, right? And I think Ethereum is somewhere in between, where it can be like this tech startup, like generating fees, like MEV, like economic value on chain via its DeFi ecosystem and everything. But at the same time, it has like the shot to still be kind of like, let's say, like the second contender to like digital gold or like a store of value asset like Bitcoin, but at the same time also be this commodity and consumable, right? And I think if you want to kind of like go into that direction, you need to be like as decentralized as possible, as like stress tested as possible, and like also like companies from the outside want to see like sovereignty, right? And at the same time, they're the smart contract platform where things can happen, like economic value can happen. So I think this is kind of like what makes me bullish on ETH, right? And it also makes me very bullish to see that they kind of like accepted that like a lot of things are going wrong, and they kind of like had this change in the Ethereum Foundation, and also like tone, kind of like how they are communicating on podcasts, also like the roadmap and everything seems like way more bullish nowadays.
They're kind of going into founder mode. They're going into founder
Exactly.
mode.
They're going into like war mode, right?
Yeah.
And I really want to see that. And yeah, I just think, I mean, they are still like doing like an amazing job, right? They are still the home of like Base, and they're still the home of WorldCoin, right? They are still the home of like the by far biggest TVL of stable coins, which is kind of like the Trojan horse for like institutions and banks and stuff, right? So I think there's like definitely like a lot of things going right in the right direction for Ethereum. It just had this, obviously, like its performance was shit, right? And this was also, we were also suffering from that. But I definitely think they're going into the right direction. Like buying Solana at like $8 to $12 or something was obviously like the right curve move here to outperform, right? But I think from here it's like, I wouldn't be surprised like if like even Solana like perform just like equally, right? And just do like both 2 to 4x from here or something. I think that's very realistic. I think it's just like very narrow-minded, and like kind of like this it would be this hated rally, right, where everyone is just like
Ethereum rally would be the most hated rally. There's no question.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is also like another reason why I think it's just going to happen.
Yeah, got it. So the one thing to me that's interesting on Ethereum is, look, I spent a lot of years in product management, and the by far the way companies succeed is by focusing on thing. I think what we see is like Solana is very clear: increased bandwidth redundancy. Like that is the number one goal of the network, and everyone is able to rally behind it. Versus, I think when I look at Ethereum, I don't know if they listed it here, but it's like, oh, we want to scale the L1, we want to scale the L2, and we want to improve the UX. It's kind of like, okay, well, you want to focus on everything. So how, to me that seems pretty hard to do, to actually scale everything about it all at the same time.
Also doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like do you think like they should be focusing on one of those rather than three, or which one of those is the highest priority?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I'm like pretty much on the same page, like with most people, that like they should focus on scaling the L1, right? And to just like, it's their product. They should make this just like as good as possible. And I think it was a mistake to like heavily rely on the rollup centric roadmap kind of. I think it's kind of like up to like the bases and the world coins and like all these other teams to kind of like care about their product by their own, right? And they should just like offer like the most, like the best, like the most resistant, like the most decentralized kind of like L1 where they can settle to.
Yep.
And I also think, I mean, this is for example like a thing where I would say I'm not like the best person to talk to. Maybe you should ask Kai Samani to join the stream next time. But I think when we go into discussion like monolithic versus like modular, right? I think both have their pros and cons, and I definitely think like they will just coexist with each other, right? I'm super bullish on Solana. I'm super bullish on Ethereum and like the rollup centric kind of like modular future. But I'm super bearish on like most other like general purpose chains. I see the value in kind of like other stuff that is purposely built for just like one particular thing, right?
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm also not very bullish on Sui, Aptos, like all these other new ecosystems popping up, because it will be much
Simon
harder.
doesn't like the move. Simon doesn't like the move.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
No, but it will be increasingly harder to just like build an ecosystem around it. I mean, we see it already with Ethereum, right? Like still most of the TVL is like, seems to be very sticky. And I think it's so hard to just like build a new ecosystem, to build like a new dev community and stuff. So basically all kind of like new general purpose L1s that we get on our table are like usually like 99% of them are pass.
Yep. Awesome.
I can agree, like from a founder's perspective or builder's perspective.
Yeah, Momo, you decided to build on Solana, and I'm assuming you had to go through a decision framework of Base or other EVMs or Solana. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
The interesting story is that we are working on protocols since 1.5, 2 years now, and we actually started on EVM chain. So we started on Arbitrum. And so we know both sides, because we intentionally had one point in time where we needed to decide, should we stay on EVM, where it really feels like every L2, every EVM chain is trying to steal users from the other chain and no one works together? Or should we just full focus on Solana, basically? And from a founder's perspective, it's insane, because we built many months on Arbitrum. Actually, we were in their grants program, but the support that we got was marginal. It was literally just one text every other month, right? Also, connecting with builders was super hard because they were so spread it. Though some builders were on Sui, some builders were on Binance Smart Chain, some builders were on ETH mainnet, some on Arbitrum. Like it's so split. And then for Opinions.fun, we said, okay, we need a new home, and we want to go where consumers are, traders are, and where we see a really, really strong community and a striving community of builders. So not necessarily just VCs, right? But of real builders and of people that want to do something. And we saw that with the local communities of Solana, literally. So in Germany, there's like Super Team is super strong. There's some local communities in Munich. And those people, we went there a couple of times, and after 2 weeks, we knew everyone. We were connected to the elite. We were almost connected to the Solana Foundation. For us, it was like, okay, we're gonna go all in Solana and build on Solana, because there's so much support, and hierarchies are so flat that we can literally reach Mert in a DM, right? Or Toli. Well, Toli is hard to get, but all that, basically everyone else, right?
Or Carl.
Or Carl. We talk almost every day now.
Totally, Carl. It's basically all in the same.
Yeah,
level,
same.
Yeah.
So that's from my side, and I think that's why I also don't really follow any other chains besides Solana and Ethereum.
Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I always kind of like admired Solana for kind of like their BD and marketing skills, right? They kind of like, they managed to make like an infrastructure, right? And like the chain itself kind of like a lifestyle. It's just like, I mean, it's not always like the best tech that wins, but also like BD and marketing is super important, right? And the brand that you build around it, and just like how you attract devs to your ecosystem. And I think Solana is definitely doing like the very best job there in the whole space. And this is something that I think people were also like very frustrated with the Ethereum Foundation, which I think Solana will always do like a better job like than Ethereum in that respect. But at least they are trying to kind of like do some changes there.
Yep. All right. Well, that's super helpful. I think, yeah, my general takeaway is Ethereum DL1. Scaling blockchains is really hard, and one of the things that makes me a little bit bearish Ethereum, or certainly concerned about Ethereum the blockchain, is when they said in that protocol post, like, oh, well, we have to be really careful about making big changes. I think they even posted that in their main thing, and I'm like, well, last week Solana, literally 2 weeks ago, just literally changed its consensus algorithm. They announced a new consensus algorithm that's going live, assuming in the next couple of months. But so you have a network that's saying we can't change, it's going to be really hard. And you have another one saying, yeah, we're going to change this. It's literally taking away the proof of history, which I don't think that defines Solana. And I think in order to keep growing and keep scaling, you have to have that energy and that willingness to fail. But with that, obviously, surrounded by a great team, a high chance of success. And the ecosystem itself demands that. The ecosystem doesn't want Solana to be stagnant. They want it to change. Versus Ethereum has said, hey, we want to ossify the L1 over. So I don't think scaling the Ethereum L1 makes sense. I think John Charbonneau had a tweet on this that I generally resonated with. Pick one thing and do it well. I think Ethereum has the potential to be a leading decentralized settlement layer across a variety of different app chains that are built, or general purpose chains that are built on the Ethereum ecosystem. And so leaning in there and just nailing that use case, I think is like would have been a good strategy for them to take. Trying to improve the UX and trying to improve the scale of the L1 itself seems like a lot. And I wish them luck. It doesn't make me super optimistic. But
totally, yeah, I totally get where you come from. I would like emphasize again, I think it's like two different ecosystem for two like for various different kind of like use cases, right? I think Solana obviously is like the best kind of like if you want to build like a club dex or something like this, right? Or just like want to like a lot of throughput and like these kind of like use cases, obviously go to Solana. I think the USP of like Ethereum is kind of like just like like trust and like the decentralization and sovereignty, right? And for example, like why I'm also saying this is like we have been invited to like one of the biggest banks in Europe, basically, right? And they wanted to get like some consultancy regarding issuing their own stablecoin, right? And we also had this discussion with them. They would never go anywhere else than Ethereum because like for them it's anyways like such a huge step to kind of like only think about like a stable coin, right? Which is like obviously like the lamest thing to do in crypto kind of, but for them it's like kind of like always already like the craziest thing. Ethereum L1, not even like an L2 or anything. Ethereum L1 would be the only place where they would even consider that. And this is why I think like trust and like this institutional kind of like picture that like institutions have like from Ethereum is like this is also something like a mode in itself, I guess.
Yep. So okay, looking at one of the comments, this is what's fun about live streaming is you can actually look at what people are saying.
Ethereum is gay, someone said. So
yeah.
I mean, maybe it's like a good point to start.
I actually took Ethereum to be a little bit more non-binary, I think, than gay, but you know, it's
I mean, maybe we can also put this as like an opinion token. I mean, maybe this should like be
Exactly.
Yeah. But people just want to place the gamble. Solana is a good place to gamble. I actually I gave a talk on consumer crypto and talked about why the casino has been being in terms of using the framing that Chris Dixon set up. But yeah, Solana is by far the best platform to build wagering technology.
Totally.
Lucky Prague, there we go. Fight for, this is from 8C6, fight for incremental decentralization rather than zero way. Eventually, it doesn't matter if nobody uses the chain. Exactly. Nobody cares. You know, it's actually, that's a good start of a good segment to InfoFi, which we have spent some time on. So, Simon, I sort of think has been really a thought leader in terms of InfoFi. And, you know, to show that, let me just pull up the window, share some of the things that you've talked about. So this is a thesis piece you wrote a year ago, just about a year ago. And you later commented, and by the way, let me make sure that these are pinned. Can you see these on the screen, by the way?
I see you and myself pinned.
So maybe I need to us in order for these other things.
Yeah.
There we go. So now you see it, right? Now you see the window?
No, I see it, yeah.
Okay, great. So Simon had a really good piece on social and where does social go from here. There's a couple, you know, key pillars that you explore. You then went ahead and talked about how, you know, you wrote this piece a year ago and how it's basically, you know, Kaito has really nailed it. You are a top yapper on Kaito. You, I think, are in the top 50 or very close to the top 50 of all time, which is obviously incredible. So where I want to start is a little bit on your SocialFi thesis. So break down some of the key pillars of it. And I think the kind of the core nexus of it is attention. And so take us to like how Kaito algorithm is really a market for attention. And maybe if there was a poignant question I wanted to put in there, like a pointed question, it would be, should we as humans be changing our behavior to fit the Kaito algorithm and approach? Is that even possible? Or should we instead just be doing, you know, having Mert's view, where Mert's view is, let me just pull it up here so everyone can see it. Like, do exactly what you're doing authentically without bending over to an algo. Kind of walk us through.
Yeah. So I mean, we came up like with our SocialFi thesis like a year ago or something. It was basically a result out of like Friend Tech and Fantasy Top, right? Which kind of like really got me excited. So my initial thesis always was like, or like I was a lot thinking about how do we bring like the masses into crypto, like the normies, right? I'm not talking about like, I don't know, institutions and like industrial players like with Deepin or something, but how do we get like my little sister on chain, right? And I always had the thesis that actually like everyone was always like super hyped about gaming. I was always like very bearish about gaming because I definitely see how it makes sense, but I don't like games that have a token or something. Um, but I was always thinking about like how can we leverage Web3 technology to come up like with new social experiences and that people, because for me it was always, I was always fascinated by like how TikTok grew to like one of the biggest kind of like platforms like within a few years, just because like they had this idea, okay, instead of like images on Instagram, we now have like videos on TikTok, right? And this was kind of like this new social experience, like this new social behavior that just like got everyone excited, and all of a sudden they're kind of like the biggest like social platform. And I was always thinking like, okay, how can we leverage like Web3 tech to create like a new social experience? And hence I was like super excited about like friend tech and then fantasy top. But then I quickly realized that those are like the typical stupid like crypto plays, right? That are like hyper financialized and basically again like a casino, right? And so I quickly realized I would never get my little sister to use like friend tech or fantasy top when I tell her like, okay, here, risk like losing like all your pocket money on like that new random social medium where not even like any of your friends are, right?
And
So
that's
I
because it
think
was hyper financialized. There wasn't like an
exactly
authentic experience part of it, right? Was that the issue with some the
same.
fantasies and the friend texts and the cloud.me?
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is like because like with hyper financialization, right, you don't even create like an authentic experience in the first hand, right? No one on Friendtech bought like a key because like they wanted to have like this closed group where they can have like very decent discussions or something, right? It was all about like speculating on keys or someone like just like a KOL pumping his keys or something. Um so I thought about like what is like very important in social, right? And for example, like what I also realized with TikTok, I think one of their biggest successes was that they had like this new way to go viral, right? With their new algorithm and kind of like they're playing it out on the For You page and everything. And I think what made like TikTok super successful is they created new influencers and they created new KOLs, and this was hitting like the dopamine, like with many of these like kids, right? And all of a sudden, like you're nobody on Instagram, right? You change to TikTok, and all of a sudden you have like 1 million followers and are famous, and this is kicking dopamine, and this is kind of like kicking in like the jealousy effect of the others, like and kind of like pulling them onto the platform because they want to do the same, right? They also
Yeah.
want to go viral and also want to become like influencers and stuff. Um, and yeah, this was like my thesis that we need like something that is creating like new influencers because like this virality like hits dopamine and everything. And then I quickly realized this is exactly what Kaito was doing with their kind of like mindshare algorithm and like Yepper leaderboard, right? Because all of a sudden like mindshare and attention was like measurable, and like it was also, if you want to say it, like tokenized, right? And like yaps became kind of like a unit to measure like attention, right? And this is like, and then all of a sudden, we also see it with Kaito now. I think like the most successful like KOLs on Kaito are either those that are like really good and authentic, like Mert, for example, right? Or like Mike Dudas or like Janowitz or something. Or it kind of like it created like new KOLs that really kind of like stepped into there. And interestingly, like the non Kaito native KOLs, like let's say like a Moon Carl of like last cycle or something, right? He would never have a chance to generate like a lot of yaps there, and because it's just like very bad content. It's just like a lot of fake engagement, dead followers and stuff. So I really like how Kaito kind of like came up like with this idea to tokenize attention and also like filter out quality from quantity, which kind of like kicked off like the whole flywheel.
Yeah. And so let me ask you one question there. You talked about how you you said that Kaito made or allowed some of these other stream or content creators or posters to then grow. And so basically you talk
Hmm.
about, hey, like the ones who are already big, like they're obviously going to do well on a platform like Kaito because
Hmm.
they get a ton of
Hmm.
engagement. They have lots of good things to say. we talk about how it actually lifted up some of these other people. How did Kaito do? Like, what exactly was their experience with Kaito versus, hey, they just grew organically and they happened to get gaps? Is it the discoverability that Kaito provided? Was it some sort of amplification that Kaito provided? Like, what about this actually helped them grow beyond what they could have done organically without Kaito?
I mean, obviously, a lot of that was also kind of like airdrop farming, right? Like, let's be honest about that. I mean, lots of people were trying to farm yaps to get like a decent airdrop. And I think obviously also like a very big point is kind of like this new and fair chance for everyone, right? I mean, Kaito doesn't necessarily kind of like reward you for like a lot of followers and like a lot of impressions, right? But rather for like the ratio, like your quality content in ratio with your impressions and your followers. So I think it was like a fair chance for everyone to kind of like become a new KOL, and those that kind of like took the chance and succeeded, kind of like quickly has shown the rest of the people that there's like a clear chance to get into the algorithm, to kind of like start like farming that mind share, right? And I think this is what they did very well. I think I also definitely agree with Mert's take, that your content needs to be authentic. So for example, like one big reason why I think like I farmed like a lot of yaps is like because I never try to do like engagement farming or anything, or like I changed my social behavior because I thought like, okay, maybe this is getting me more yaps or something. I just talk about, like, genuinely talk about what I'm excited about, right? I talk about, like, let's say ETH and like how I see it versus Solana or something. I talk about my portfolio companies like Infinex and Camp Network. Obviously, this is why I'm like on their leaderboards and stuff. And this is something that people really resonate about. And I think this is also the reason like why my content is like rewarded quite a lot. Because I just try to be authentic. And I also, when I look in my comments or something, it's horrible. I mean, there are like so many like bots and comments who just gave me like ChatGPT like replies on some like very generic kind of like replies that don't mean anything, right? But yeah, I think this is like, I was basically to get back to your question, like yaps was basically dopamine for me in that flywheel, right? And they gave it kind of like, this was kind of like the structure how they brought dopamine into this flywheel, which kicked it off, like generated new KOLs and also attracted existing KOLs. And I think the most interesting thing obviously now is like we can fight about the fact whether they have like the best algorithm in the back end and whether they really have like the best quality over quantity compared to like cookie.fun or whatever, right? But what they definitely mastered is kind of like becoming this incumbent in that sector, and kind of like they really like control mindshare and distribution now, which I think kind of like starts generating network effects now, right? And I think now you see kind of like projects like Laudio, for example, starting to build on top of them. So it's not really like a Yappa distribution platform anymore, but it's slowly but surely kind of like evolving into this attention layer, like social attention layer infrastructure, whatever you want to call it, where kind of like new builders and new kind of like social apps can kind of like innovate on top of and come up like with new social mechanisms, which I am really excited about, right? And obviously, they also have pressure to further like to further ship some things, right? Because like only having like this Yappa leaderboards and like it's getting boring, and it's also getting over farmed, and the content is obviously like diminishing kind of like, but I think they are also very, very good builders, right? And you see Yoohoo also talking about like there's like a social capital launchpad in the pipelines where basically those with the biggest mindshare get like priority access to like super exclusive deals and stuff like this. So if you think about like this, I mean, we're back at the point where distribution is everything, and then you can basically just like choose how to direct it, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's like when I think about social, it actually fits in pretty well with the way I think. So let me pull this up here. I gave a talk at Solana Crossroads. My general take, I'm assuming you can see my screen, but
it's unpinned again, I think.
I would keep. So for some reason, I guess I got to pin it every time. Basically, you can see here that I put together this thesis on consumer crypto, and ultimately, crypto is the ideal financialization layer. The reason platforms like Pump are so successful and other like NFT projects and meme coins is because in Web 2, you can make money, but you don't get famous on the platform. In Web 2, you also can get famous on the platform, but you actually don't make a lot of money on the platform. All these content creators are making money in brand deals outside of the platform. It's not in the platform itself. Here, you can actually do these, and you can probably add Kaito here. I need to get a little bit more smarter on Kaito. You could probably add it here, but you're making money and you're growing fame at the same time. And that's something that, because it's on blockchain rails, you can now bring these two things together in the same product, while typically they're on disparate products. And it's all like real time, to your point. Like, it's all like real time updating. It's not 2-day settlement thing. So I generally agree with you. I think distribution, even like this channel, I think people are excited. Some people are excited about this channel for the content. Some people on this channel are excited about the token. And like, my job is to figure out how do I bring these two groups together and create a platform whereby the token may help us grow and get distribution or attention we wouldn't have otherwise, but then also create content that actually allows new people to come in and participate in the community more deeply. And then like, you kind of keep that flywheel going.
Yeah. I mean, that's also a very good point, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure you also know that, right? But I mean, we know it from like last cycle or something from most of our portfolio companies, like how marketing worked before Kaito, right? I mean, portfolio companies approached us whether we can intro them to kind of like marketing agencies or something. And there were always like kind of like the stupid KOL rounds where they just like got like crazy amounts of money for like creating like super shitty content to their kind of like fake community, right? And I think this was like also very frustrating, not only for like founders and projects who are trying to do marketing, but also for kind of like the community, right? Because it was at some point like a very obvious, it's like an insider game, and KOLs just came in at like early rounds. They show it to their community and then dump on them or something. And so I think Kaito is like a very nice step into the direction to kind of like democratize that and decentralize like kind of like, let's say, marketing campaigns, right? Everyone got like the same chance to participate in like a marketing campaign for Infinex, for example, right?
Yep.
And eventually Kaito is kind of like measuring like who had the biggest impact and who really deserves to get like a reward or like, let's say, like a payment. So it's very fair. It's very transparent. Everyone can like everything is disclosed and measurable. So I think this is like, I mean, you can think about Kaito like whatever you want, but I think it's like a very nice step into the right direction compared to where we have been before.
Yep. All right. And by the way, time wise, do you guys have an extra 5 or 10 minutes, or do you have hard stops at the top of the hour?
Sure. No, I mean, for me, it's fine.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I want to make sure we have enough chance to talk about opinion markets, and I don't want us to run out.
Yeah.
I wanted to, Momo, you were going to say something though.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that also, again, from a builder's perspective, that it was and is still super hard to find legit KOLs that are not botted or have fake engagement. And Kaito made it so much easier because you can just look at, well, those are the leaderboards, and those people actually have a lot of smart engagement, so a lot of connections. They actually talk about stuff, and it's way easier to approach those people and know, well, this is actually a KOL or a person, a creator that does provide good value and has good connections in the ecosystem. And it's not just about numbers, which is impressions, comments, or likes, which can be complete bullshit, right? And I think maybe an example was also why we focused on opinion markets and saw a niche there is a pretty viral tweet from Simon where he said, "Oh, meme coins are shit," and he got so much FUD in the comment. It was 90% of Ansem's cabal telling him, "Yo, you're a sidelined VC, right? Of course you don't like meme coins." And I was wondering how many people are just there to FUD him, and who is really serious and actually really thinks that meme coins are super stupid. And a couple of people, like 10%, were actually arguing, well, they are, or well, there's a nuance to it, they capture attention and stuff. And I wanted to have like a way for people to express it in not as a comment or a like or anything which is basically free, but to also show it that you have a stake in it and like put your money where your mouth is. That's funnily enough the one of the stories on why we created Opinions.fun in the first place.
Yeah. Let's jump to opinion markets, but I want to address something that 8C6 said. Our previous company paid $100,000 on KOLs. Kaito just replaces market agency. I think that's actually really interesting. In that, yeah, like these marketing agencies, how do you know them? I mean, I have literally dozens of marketing agencies reaching out, like, "Oh, we'll promote your project with this," and I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. It's probably all fake. First, I know that. I mean, I already know a lot of the KOLs just from being in the space for a long time. But if I said, "Hey, we want to work together on something," like I just know I'm going to get much higher signal, perhaps, and then noise. And so I think Kaito is a really good sort of dashboard of who's creating signal versus who's just participating in it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I mostly see it from my perspective, right? Because I'm like very deep into like the crypto Twitter game, and like I'm in the like crypto trenches like 24/7 or something. But it's interesting. I mean, you have to see it from the perspective of most builders. Like, let's say someone building like a DePIN, right? Which is usually like kind of like a Web 2.5 business, right? And they aren't spending like the whole day on like Twitter or something. So we had like these situations like very often before that they approached us with like a super shitty KOL who had like 300K followers or something, and like very obvious fake engagement, only bots, and obviously all of this was bought, right? And then they were like, we're super excited. This guy just like reached out to us, and he would like do some tweets for us, like for like 5K or something, right? And it's very obvious that like founders need like way more support with marketing and like way more kind of like consultancy, and like marketing agencies also just milk them, right? I mean, the support that they usually get it from like most of the marketing agencies is like very bad, right? And they charge them like crazy amounts for just pushing out like a very shitty PR piece or something. So I think like Kaito is like a great step into that direction for many founders, because also if I compare prices of Kaito, like for 1 year getting like a Yeppa leaderboard or something, with actually paying like a agency for 1 year, it's even like Kaito is even cheaper, right? And not only better, but even cheaper. And I think, projects like in Phoenix or something, I mean, you can just go out there with like a Yeppa leaderboard, which is kind of like a low effort, right? But you can also go out there with like a Yeppa leaderboard and create like a campaign around it, like some special tweaks, like in Phoenix, for example. And then I think we all saw how effective this can be. I think like the community never has been stronger before, and they get like a lot of mind share, gained like a lot of users.
Tell me a little bit about did Infinex do something specifically with Kaito, or just people happen to be talking about Infinex?
Yeah. So what Infinex did is like they built kind of like a normalization protocol on top of Kaito, right? So basically they take Kaito's distribution and like their mindshare algorithm, but on top of that they build kind of like let's call it like a filter to even further filter out like low effort Yeppas and like bots and all that kind of stuff, to really filter out like who have been like the Yappas who made like the biggest difference for them. And like they even further kind of like went into detail to see like how they are rewarding. So it become, and they are offering like a huge amount of incentives. So I think the biggest of all. So I think this in combination made it like super competitive. So everyone is just like fighting over like being on the Infinix Yeppa leaderboard, which eventually kind of like then obviously creates like a lot of attention, mindshare, and obviously, yeah.
Cool. All right, terrific. Well, let's jump on. Speaking of, I guess opinions. Like, let's jump into that area. So we started a market at the beginning of the chat. Now I gotta talk to the pump team. What's interesting is I share this, but then it doesn't get automatically pinned. If I share a market or something,
I can see it now, but you manually pinned it, right?
Yeah. So but I didn't, when I first shared it, I think it shared it down below, not in the full screen. But basically, okay, well, here we go. Real time information. So let's refresh this. It still seems, so talk about what's going on here. So 100% agree in this market. So basically,
Exactly. No one disagrees that the InfoFi super cycle isn't real. So that's good, I guess, right?
Yeah.
For us,
Got it.
for us building in the space.
Yep.
And a couple of people, if you go through the transactions, basically already put some soul into the market themselves,
Yep.
right? So I think, like, I created it, so I'm gonna post about this stuff more often. I'll recheck the market for itself. It's perpetually open. So once the InfoFi super cycle gets even more real, right? Not so. I feel like right now everyone is talking about Kaito, but I think the projects that are gonna build with Kaito, other platforms as well. I think we all just want to grow the pie for InfoFi. So yeah, let's gonna revisit the market every other day, and I'm super interested in more people putting their money where their mouth is, and let's see what happens. So
Perfect.
far, a couple of people are sitting on a 2x something.
Wow, that's great. I love it. I love it. So we talked. You already gave us a demo on how to launch companies, so we don't have to rehash that. But maybe talk us a little bit more. This, by the way, we're transitioning into the demo portion, and maybe it's a conversation on opinion versus prediction market. So you talk about put your money where your mouth is. That's a really big thing. Tell me about how you view opinion markets relative to prediction markets.
Yeah.
Obviously, prediction markets has been the main focus. You have Kalshi, you have Polymarket, being the way you have Robinhood announcing that they're going to be creating markets. So very clearly, this is a big exciting thing. But
Exactly.
Where do you see opinion markets fitting into this landscape going forward?
And that's also a pretty interesting topic, because we differentiate a lot from poly market or opinion or prediction markets in general, because prediction markets are outcome based, meaning everything has an end date. There's a clear yes or no. You need oracles, you need Yuma to resolve those markets for you, and you need to trust them. But for opinions, it's something different. It's very subjective, right? You have your opinion, Simon has his opinions, I have my opinions. Some we share, maybe we agree 90% on a topic, and others disagree something. But there was no market, or there is no, like with a prediction market, you cannot represent these dynamics, right? Because something subjective doesn't is not possible to resolve. For example, people are debating about religion and what's the best religion since hundreds and thousands of years, and there is no debate that has been settled yet, right?
Yep.
So for us, the only logical step was to make it a liquid token marketplace where each token can be traded just as on any marketplace perpetually forever, because we want to capture and see these agree and disagree tokens as a proxy for people's sentiment. So if the discussion is getting a lot of mind share, if a lot of people are talking about it, naturally the marketplace will get more volume, more liquidity, more people trading. The coins in prices will go higher. And you will see, and you saw that with, for example, the very first opinion, which is pinned, the Opinions.fun will go viral. It was the first opinion that graduated. And there you can really see the dynamic that every time we have some announcements, or when you see that we are building behind the scenes, that people lose confidence, right? And the percentage goes a bit down,
Yep.
represented in the price.
Yep.
But once someone, or we release a new feature, or we are super relevant on the timeline again, well, people's confidence in that we are actually going to go viral. And that's very subjective, right? Everyone sees virality differently. So that's like the tool to buy into and to have a marketplace representing that. And you basically can see in real time what people think.
Yep.
So it's attention tokenized, it's sentiment tokenized. And what we're going to do is we're also going to tokenize credibility or confidence more, because in the end, what you do and how you trade is also who you are.
Yep.
Right? Are you someone flip-flopping opinions, or do you actually stand behind what you say?
Terrific.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges for Opinions.fun right now is still like that, exactly that it's not deterministic, right? So people are kind of like wondering why they should buy it and everything, and this is also why the platform doesn't have like too much volume and too many users yet. But I think there's something in the pipeline that will change this a lot, and will bring like a lot of attention and like a lot of users to the platform. So maybe like Momo can also like share some alpha here.
Yeah, distribution is always a very big topic. I can tell you so much that we are going to relaunch with a V2 version and a very, very strong partner in InfoFi. We might have talked about that project already in this stream, but that's for everyone to listen in.
Ethereum.
And Bitcoin, exactly. And find that alpha. Um, please continue yapping about us. I think that's going to be very beneficial for everyone. And yeah, I think the relaunch will be really, really huge. Like, we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We're not that vocal why we are building, but we will be very vocal once everything goes live with the integration. And there will be a lot of fees being shared for everyone. So I think creators also need to earn more in this InfoFi industry. You should earn by engaging in good discussions. You should earn by having strong opinions. And we want to incentivize this quote unquote good behavior. And it's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting you said is like it actually, community keep yapping. I think, especially in NFTs, meme coins, it's all about the community, bring people together. I think what's interesting here is Kaito gives a platform to understand the success. Like what is the metric you're aiming to optimize? It's like, hey, you're able to now galvanize a community to rally behind a particular metric that is well thought out in terms of who's connected to who and who's commenting on who. Hey, are we actually making progress as a community with the current things we're talking about? And so, as founders, you're always aiming for distribution. Your community is also aiming for distribution. And so, I think to answer the question I put up before, what I'm taking away from this conversation is, if people try to, you can't really game the Kaito algorithm. It's actually just based a lot on like what's already going on in X. There's less about a gaming of that algorithm. But for founders, it allows you to see who is really influential as an angel versus parroting and saying, I'm so influential, but they're actually not. It's a good signal on the angels and who to work with. And it's also a way for your community to understand, are we successful in promoting the project or the app that we love? And you can actually see that in real time taking place as they share alpha, as they share about their winnings and their success, as they share their experiences. You kind of get a real-time result of that. And I think that could be really cool for the community and a way to energize them. Like, hey, let's aim to get in the top 5. This would be really great for us to do. And now they have a specific mission to go out and help solve.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this has been great. Just, take us home. Is there anything else we haven't talked about yet that you're like, we have to cover this, otherwise we failed having a good conversation on InfoFi? And if not, then let's just wrap it up with, how do people get in contact with you? How do they follow you on Twitter? What's your handle? And bring us home.
Sure. I think one last thing that I just like to wrap up the discussion about like Kaito and everything. I mean, obviously people are also kind of like disappointed by the recent Laudio launch, right? It has been like very underwhelming given like how much hype there has been. I still kind of like, I would kind of like recommend people to encourage it and to see like that there's like new stuff happening, like even if it's like experimental and it's failing, right? That there's still like stuff ongoing in the SocialFi bubble, which is like super exciting. And obviously, like most of these things kind of like in the beginning look like a toy, but then can become kind of like a very, very big thing and like kind of like what you would never imagine, right? And I think it's super exciting to see like projects starting to build on Kaito and kind of like evolving into like an intention layer. And I really hope this will be like finally kind of like the kickstart of like kind of like a SocialFi cycle, like with enough builders and building on top of it. And yeah, I can only say that like I've been working with the Opinions guys like for quite some time, and I think I've never been excited so far like that much.
You've never been excited so far.
I have never been like that much excited like I am today, because I think they really found the secret formula right now. And I think congrats to the 20 people on the stream for being early, because like this is massive alpha and this will change the game.
There's going to be a massive flywheel for everyone. I can promise you that.
So Momo, everyone should be following Opinions.fun on Twitter.
Yeah, follow us.
Everyone should be
follow
using
along.
Opinions.fun to make their voices heard and
Reach
put their
out
money
to
where their
me
mouth
via
is.
DMs. My handle is almost the same as here, like Momo Trenches. Perfect for the podcast. I'm also in the trenches from time to time, so I know what I'm speaking of. So reach out to me via DMs. I'm happy to do, to talk to people, talk to users, get feedback. I think talking with your users is the single most important thing as a builder. And I'm here for you guys, like 24/7. I'm not leaving. I'm not doing anything else besides building and pushing Opinions Fun.
Until September, then he may take off a couple of days to do Oktoberfest, especially if I'm in town.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Terrific conversation. Again, the trenches are for everyone. The purpose here is to bring crypto to the masses. This was a really fun chat. I'm excited to go edit this and get the recording out shortly. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Thanks a lot for having us.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. Bye.